I'm excited for this episode. I just remembered about this movie. I'll save it, but
Oh, we're recording. We can start.
we can start.
We can start.
Hang on.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to This Is a Terrible Place to Live. This week, we are talking about a wonderful, wonderful movie, the Snyder Cut, but owls. And so we're going to get into that. I think that this movie really, really shows just the beauty of Zack Snyder as an artist. And I think that's what we're going to talk about, right? You did give this 5 stars, yeah, David?
Oh yeah, it's a perfect
Oh
movie.
yeah, for sure. Best movie I've seen all year. Um, that might not be a
Uh,
joke though.
what?
What have I
Oh shit.
watched this year? I haven't watched very many movies this year. Uh,
Well, I think this is the perfect episode. I was thinking about it before we started. Um, that it's not it's not anything that anyone would ever ask us to make, right? No one asks us to do anything. We just do this. But it's not something anyone would ever think, ooh, I should listen to an episode of a podcast on Legend of the Guardians. That's right up my alley, right? But it's also topical. We've got a Zack Snyder episode coming out right before um, the Snyder Cut comes out.
I
So
think it'll end up posting right after the Snyder Cut comes out.
okay,
Because
well, I mean, yeah,
right, yeah. But
but we're in the
we're
ballpark,
in the
you know.
ballpark. It'll be right around that time. It's very topical. Zack Snyder. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I do have to say the title of this movie is Guardians of the Legends. Is that right?
No, no, it is
Legend of the
Legend
Guardians?
Legend of the Guardians,
The
the
Owls
Owls
of
of
Ga'Hoole.
Ga'Hoole.
I remember the Owls of Ga'Hoole. I did not remember Legends of the Guardians. That's a terrible title, honestly.
Yeah. I owned this movie on DVD when I was about 10, or the year it came out, you know. So 9 or 10.
What year did this
And
come out? I'm not
it's
aware.
it's a 2010 classic,
Oh,
you know.
okay, okay. Real,
It's
real great.
Disney has the Disney vault. This is in the Lionsgate vault. Um
Yes, the ever loved and referenced Lionsgate Vault,
uh-huh.
where all of the best movies live.
This and I before we started, I said, "Oh boy, this is great," because I saw the poster of the movie. On the poster, it says, "From the studio that brought you Happy Feet."
Oh my god. Why would you advertise it that way?
And it also says now playing in real 3D because it was at the height of 3D. I think
Yeah, that feels
everyone
right.
loved 3D and they loved Happy Feet.
Is this the
Um,
same like time frame where movies were coming out where 3D was in the title? Because I feel like I remember that being like a
no,
phase.
that would have been earlier, I think, because Spy Kids 3D, obviously.
Right, yeah.
That's the one that comes to mind, and that was substantially earlier.
Yeah, that was about 7 years earlier.
Yeah,
Um,
but that was Red Blue 3D, not the real
not yeah,
3D stuff.
not the they call it Real D.
And I think it was more of a thing with the Red Blue 3D, which is weird because it was so much worse that they want to put that in the title. We've got cardboard glasses for you. We'll put it in the title of our movie.
It was definitely more of like a gimmick than I think the newer like 3D movies were trying to be. Like they
Oh, it was
sold
a
Red
gimmick
Blue.
too.
They read. It's still a gimmick, but they sold Red Blue 3D as a gimmick. Like they marketed it as a gimmick,
Toward
whereas
yeah,
they
towards
tried to
towards.
make the current version of 3D seem like it was something that it wasn't.
I mean, not even current version because like I don't think anyone goes to see 3D movies anymore, right? Like you'll go to IMAX, right?
I
That's
I
the one thing.
saw Star Wars Episode 7 in 3D accidentally.
See, it's an accident now.
It was an
It,
accident, but I think I also saw Deadpool 2 in 3D.
really, the only reason I go to a 3D movie at this point is because it's a more convenient time. You know?
Yeah, yeah. It is more expensive still though, which doesn't make sense to me. Like
Yeah.
anyway, this is not about the movie, but
I
it
mean,
is kind of. It kind of. I
it's
mean,
really.
yeah. So they're
This is a.
advertising this as 3D. I actually, you know what? I can see this movie being not good in 3D, but I can see it in 3D.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's Zack Snyder's whole thing is that he's a person of spectacle, you know. So
Yeah,
it makes
yeah.
sense that he'd make a movie that's made for 3D. Um,
I feel like he makes all of his movies for 3D still.
yep. Zack Snyder is such a child, and him making a kids movie, I don't know if it works. I don't know why. It seems like it'd be right up his alley, but I don't know. He's
Yeah,
somewhere in between. He's like the I'd say he's an eighth grader. That's where he is. You know? He's just he thinks he's edgy,
yeah, yeah.
but he's really a dumb kid.
I just feel like it's really funny to me going back and watching this movie because I see Zack Snyder all over this movie, right?
Yeah.
Specifically in terms of everything that's gone on with Justice League.
Uh-huh.
And the funniest thing to me about Justice League is that Zack Snyder has fought to make that his legacy. So it's not even just the Snyder cut or like director's cut of Justice League. It is called Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I feel
Oh,
like
that's
that's
insane.
like epitomizes who Zack Snyder is as a person. That his legacy film is Justice League. Like anyway, this is just Justice League with owls, and we're gonna talk about it. Do you have
Hang
some
on.
facts before we get into it?
No, I wanna say something on what you were talking about it being Zack Snyder's Justice League because that's insane.
It really
Like
is.
like it's so pretentious to put your name in the title of this movie, and it's not even gonna be that good. Like even the most like critically acclaimed movies that are just tangentially related with the director, like Francis Ford Coppola and The Godfather, it's Mario Puzo's The Godfather. It's not even Francis Ford Coppola's.
Well, I'm
Like,
trying to think of any movie that's like everyone is like this person's this movie. And I can't think of any movie that's referenced that way. Like at least maybe Tarantino films, but even they are just like
well, okay, so it'd have to be something where there's more than one iteration of it, right?
right.
Um, and that would be like the classic one.
So I guess
Uh,
like maybe Godzilla, people will reference which one they like better by the director sometimes. But I don't care about Godzilla, so I have no idea if that's true or not. I'm just assuming.
all right, yeah, we can
I
talk
think
about the
we can
actual
move on,
movie
yeah.
now. Anyway, this movie came out in 2010, as we've said, directed by Zack Snyder. Uh, Zack Snyder's Legend of the Guardians, The Owls of Ga'Hoole. Um, it is Zack Snyder's first non-R-rated movie.
Is
Uh,
it his last? Oh no, Justice League. Continue.
well, no, Batman vs Superman wasn't R-rated either. I don't think.
The extended
No, it
cut
wasn't.
was,
Oh, it was okay.
but the
Well,
theatrical was
also,
not.
also his one and only animated movie that I know of. Um, so I'm just going through the IMDb trivia here. This movie is set in Australia. This is something I wanted to talk about.
It's
And this
set
is
in
in the IMDb.
Australia.
I wanted to talk about this. It seems like it's set in Tasmania specifically,
They
based
don't
on
have
like
accents.
some of them do. Um, okay, so yeah, the books were set in North America. Some of the owl featured, some of the owl species featured are not found in Australia. So this was his choice to make it in Australia, and I don't know why. But as you watch the movie, there are certain things that give it away. For instance, the the animal that they fight whenever they fall down from the tree, that's a Tasmanian devil. They're only found in Tasmania.
Oh, I thought that was just a dog.
No. So I don't know why though. It doesn't make sense because he's an American director and
The book
he's
series is
adapting an
set in
American
America.
series and he's just like it needs to be in Australia. I don't know.
Why?
I don't
Did
know.
you
It
find anything about like you may
I
not
think
have
it
even
might
looked, but like was there a stated reason for that? Like
I do believe that it is associated with Village Roadshow Pictures, which is an Australian company. Um and then also what's his name? George George Miller. Is that his? Yeah, the guy who did uh, Mad Max.
yeah, okay.
Um, so it's from his studio, his animation studio, and he's an Australian director who he likes working with Australian actors. Um, there are lots of Australian actors in this movie. So I don't know if it was some stipulation of his, like set it in Australia, just get us some publicity, but not explicitly, just like have little animals that are exclusive to this country, but also owls that are not found there. I don't know. It was just a weird tidbit that I noticed, and I was
I don't
curious
feel
about
like
it.
it matters that it's set in Australia because I didn't even know it was set in Australia. I didn't even realize any of the owls were Australian. They all sound like owls? I don't know, people? They all
No,
sound
they have a little bit of an Australian thing going on, like a very whiny, toned down thing.
maybe
So
Digger, but that's it.
Digger does, and Claude does.
Can we talk
Uh
about really quickly since we're naming owls?
huh.
A large number of the owls have puns for their names, and I'm
Uh huh.
assuming that's from the books, and I
Uh huh.
fucking hate it.
See, okay, I'd forgotten that the main character in this movie was named Soren, and then I'd made that pun saying that a bird should be named Soren because it soars through the sky. Um, and then now I'm ashamed of myself for having made it because I hate it in this movie.
Yeah, it's a terrible, terrible name. Also, so there's Soren, bad
Uh-huh.
name. There's Claude.
No, his name is Clud.
His name is
I had to look it
Clud.
up.
I saw that, but they never say Clud. They say Claude.
They say, well, it's Kludd.
Yeah, I saw
Clud.
that, but it's
The,
not how they say it.
it's the most upsetting name. Just, it's onomatopoeia. Clud.
Clud. Clud. Okay, and then the worst, most offensive name to me in this entire movie is their little sister is named Eglantine.
Oh,
Fucking
you're,
Eglantine. What? What? Who? Who?
it's because she's a baby, but then you wonder, John, no. But then you wonder, her name's Eglantine, but she's gonna grow up. So like she's still gonna have an egg related name. Also, that's like if someone named their kid something related to a womb. You're like, that's just weird. Um,
Placentatine.
um, so this is based off of the first three books of Catherine Lasky's best-selling series. It's like she did a lot of animal books. I know this because my sisters were very into them. She did this series. She did another one about wolves. Um, just really cornering, adolescents that are like sort of into animals, but also like fantasy.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I haven't read the books. and I haven't read the books that I'm about to compare them to either, so maybe I shouldn't. But I can see it kind of falls into like that Redwall style of writing, where it's like animals but fantasy, but like maybe big and dark and dramatic, but not super dark because it's for kids. But like maybe on an edge where it might be too dark.
Um, See, the thing about Redwall's like more high fantasy in a way. Like there's lots of lore, and there is some lore in this, but
I
it's a
feel
lot
like there's a
more.
lot of lore that they just don't explore in this. Like, there's a bunch of unexplained things that I feel like must have backstory, but maybe they just didn't give it backstory. I don't know.
Oh yeah, like the owl god. There's an owl god that they just mentioned briefly, and
Oh
I want to know
yeah.
about. I want to
Oh
know about the
yeah.
owl religion.
Oh, should we
And
summarize the plot of this movie?
okay, yeah, we can talk about it.
You were just saying it
Um,
covers the first three books, right?
but yes, and then also speaking on Australia and all of that stuff, Hugh Jackman was originally cast. He was supposed to be in this movie. Um,
Interesting. As what
yeah,
character?
I really hope that he was supposed to be Soren. That would have been
That
great.
that would have been really weird, but
I know. It'd have been
interesting.
better, right? Because the guy,
Uh,
this Soren was annoying. I didn't like him.
this Soren sounded like this the entire time, but worse somehow.
He had too much whimsy in his voice.
He
You
sounded
know?
like a 35-year-old trying to sound like a 19-year-old. And I
Uh,
don't know who played him, so that may just be what it was. But
he he's actually like really low in the billing. Weirdly enough, like anywhere you go.
I mean, he's like the most milquetoast character that I have seen in a very long time. So that doesn't surprise me.
But okay, I guess before we get into the the plot, we can talk about the cast
Okay.
because I think the cast for this movie is actually really good. Um, Surprisingly so, with the quality of this movie. Okay, so there's Lee Wannell. This is like I don't know how to say his last name, but the guy who directed Upgrade and The Invisible Man.
Oh.
He's just one of those like comic relief owls that kidnap them.
Oh, actually, I remember thinking that they were like when they came in because okay, I should preface this. I actually really liked this movie and was on board with this movie for the first half of the movie. I was like, oh, this is if I were a 12-year-old, I would really like this movie. I can see where it's going. And then halfway through it, that changed, and we'll talk about that later. But I thought they were actually really good voice actors, those two owls specifically, and like their joke back and forth where they're like making the faces at each other, really funny, quite good. I could that's interesting. I have not
So,
seen either of those two movies though. Upgrade
um,
or whatever the other one was. Oh, The
yeah, The
Invisible
Invisible
Man.
Man. I've only seen Upgrade, but I did like that movie. I just thought it was weird that he played one of those random owls. Also, David Wenham. I don't know how to say his last name either. Uh, he played Faramir in The Lord of the Rings, um, but he played Digger in this.
Great. Good.
Hugo Weaving.
Oh, another Lord of the Rings actor.
I know they're just also. I mean, that was in New Zealand, so they're just getting all the people from the southern hemisphere. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he played Noctis and Gremble.
Who the fuck is
Uh,
Gremble?
Gremble's the person who taught them how to fly.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and then I believe Noctis was their dad.
Yeah, yeah. I remember the name Noctis. I don't remember who they were.
Noctis is kind of a cool name, I will say.
Still a fucking pun.
Yeah, but it's still kind of cool. Okay. Uh, Soren is played by Jim Sturgis.
Oh, Jim Sturgis.
Uh huh. Jim Sturgeon.
Should I know who that is? The
Um.
name is very familiar.
Yeah. He did Cloud Atlas, Geostorm. Uh. He's been in things. I
He's
don't
been
know.
in things. None of those. Oh, I have not seen anything he's in, but he does look very familiar.
Yeah, he's been in things people have heard of but not watched. I'd say is a good summary of his career.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so that's Jem Sturgis playing Soren, the main character, our hero. Um, just a
I
bucket of charisma,
I have
as I
problems
would
with
call
that,
him.
but we'll talk about it.
Um, then Jeffrey Rush plays Lies of Keel, which he changes his name, but I can never understand what they're saying.
Yeah, me neither.
And then looking at it written down, it's impossible to tell. It's EZYLRYB.
Um,
Yep.
I can't even remember how it sounded now. So
Yeah. Okay. Also, Helen Mirren is in this movie as Naira, the Almaty lady.
the what?
The Al.
The white owl Nazi.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, we didn't
Then
even mention that this is about Nazi owls, but we'll get
it
there.
is about Nazis. Yes. And Sam Neill plays Alomir, which is just a play on Boromir because he's the one that betrays them, and it really
Yes,
bugs me. It's so
it
weird.
is a pun and a stolen name.
Uh,
The
those are
names, the names. I can't stand the names.
Joel Edgerton plays
Oh,
Metalbeak.
huh.
He's a good actor. I like him.
Yeah, I
Um,
just didn't. Okay. I would not have guessed any of these people from their voices in this movie.
but no, I'm saying like surprisingly good cast. It's got Joel Edgerton, Jeffrey Rush, Sam Neill, Helen Mirren, like Hugo Weaving. It's a pretty good cast. But then watching this movie, it's the most just like I don't know any of this at all. Nothing is recognizable. Which I guess is fine. Like you don't want it to be them playing themselves, but I don't know. I just didn't. I didn't like it. Um, this is okay. This isn't that interesting. I just thought the cast was interesting. We can get into the movie.
Okay, so let's do a very quick summary of the plot because I feel like it's not that important, honestly.
No, the plot's crazy. The plot is wild.
So basically, these owls are like they have an oral tradition of handing down stories about this war, and so they act them out and play them together as children. And then there's like a little bit of an argument between the older brother who's like, I'm so done with this, and the younger ones that are like wanting to play this and whatnot.
Clud hates stories.
Clud hates
He
stories.
from the beginning, he's very hostile about the stories. He's like, Dad keeps telling you stories. I don't like stories, and he won't shut up about it.
So then there's a bit of a rivalry between them because Soren is better at flying than Clud, even though Clud is older. Because they're still young and learning to fly, which was confusing, and I didn't understand until they were learning to fly later. So I don't know what age they're supposed to be because they seem like old enough that they should already be flying from the owls I've seen in real
Now,
life.
looking at them, they look like they can fly,
Exactly.
but maturity wise, I don't know where owls fall. You know, I
They're
don't know
not
what their
supposed to
life
fall, they're
cycle's like.
supposed to fly.
Oh, hang on, we skipped something that I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
Um, this at the very beginning, before okay, well, with the stories that they're acting out, they introduce the pellets, which is a very
Oh.
important plot point.
Oh yeah.
The nurse who's a snake is very into the pellets that they all puke up, just mouse guts. She keeps them.
Yeah, I
I
don't
just want
It's very weird. It's very gross. I was actually trying to eat dinner while watching this movie, and that's the scene that I was like eating during. That's the scene that came on. I was like, "Why? Oh, gross."
This movie is so gross.
This movie's very gross. So yeah, that happens because the owl pellets come up later. Basically, the parents go out hunting and don't take them with them, and then the boys go out to try to learn more flying. I guess they're called branching, where they like jump from branch to branch, and they get kidnapped and taken to the Nazi owls.
Nazi owls, Nazi owls.
Yeah, Nazi owls, called the pure ones, and then like different types of owls get sorted into different like work types.
But it's a racial thing.
It is a racial thing. Basically, all of the non-Tito's, is it Tito's?
They said
Tito?
Titos. I don't know if they were saying it right. They say
I
lots of
I
things
have
weird in
no
this.
idea. So, but they basically all the ones that aren't the specific type of owl get sent down to like this mining camp, basically. And Soren, our hero,
Hmm.
speaks up for a little bird a little bit
Named
too much.
Gilfie.
Oh, Gilfie, I forgot her name because she's really not that important. And that's
Yeah,
something I have issue with that we'll talk about later. So he stands up for her and then he gets sent down to the mine instead of being up with all of his Taito brothers. And his brother does not go with him down to the mine. And I don't.
because his brother sucks for no reason.
Well, but
They
like,
never.
okay, no, I don't understand why. That's like that scene. I was like, why would he? You're stuck in this hostile situation, and there's like a worse option and a better option, and they're like, hey, you're gonna stick with your brother just because he's your brother, and he's like, no, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
No, but I'm just saying that like from the beginning they set up Clud as just this like pointlessly
That's true. Yeah,
hostile
he's
and
just a jerk the entire time for no good reason.
yeah, so, like he's been there for a day and he's like, yeah, I'll be a Nazi. Why not?
Yeah. So then, this movie's so overly complicated. I don't want to give the whole plot.
No, this is the meat right here. They okay. They
Take over,
take all
please.
the owls that aren't the Nazi like purebred ones,
The pure
and
ones.
they put them underneath the moon, and they brainwash them. They introduce this thing called moon blinking, which I don't know what that. They're like, they're trying to moon blink us, and we go, what is that? And then Gilfie's like, it's just mind control from the moon. Uh,
Basically, if you fall asleep in the nighttime, you're like fucking mind wrecked.
because owls only sleep in the daytime.
Which I don't understand. Like that's not a thing that
It's
humans do.
like
I don't
when
understand.
no, it's like when humans fall asleep during the daytime, and then they're a different person.
And then they don't have eyeballs anymore.
Yeah, they get cataracts instantly.
Which I think is a really funny choice. When they get moon blinked, they basically have like white eyes, and so Gilfie points out that they're going to moon blink them, and so they stay awake and don't get moon blinked. But then they pretend like they're moon blinked so that they don't get like noticed. But their eyes look different than everyone else's. So also they're talking so loud the entire time.
Well, it doesn't work very well because they immediately get noticed.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, but anyway, they take them back to the Pelotorium, as they call it, and it's just a giant room just filled with owl puke of rats that you got to sort through now that you're a little mind controlled owl, and you got to take pieces of metal out of them and then walk them across this big room to this glowing magnet. There's a giant magnet that has bats around it.
Is it a magnet?
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Oh.
Because okay, so they were trying to like sort of tie it into science, but they didn't explain it at all.
They did
Because
not try to explain it at all. Like they just literally did not.
okay, so owls in their like their gizzards actually do use a magnetic field to like help them with their sense of direction and like spatial awareness. Um, it's interesting. It's most notable in pigeons actually, like the compass that pigeons have, like within like their like they know how to get back to their nest and everything always.
Okay,
No
I
matter.
know what you're talking about because it was a big deal with certain very tall buildings throwing off certain birds. And we are recording again. Okay. What were we talking about?
We were talking about the magnetic field of gizzards.
Oh, right. I was saying that it reminds me of there are certain uh, skyscrapers that mess up migratory birds, like tracking system because of the
Mhm.
large metal building that's in their way.
Anyway, they were sort of, it seemed like trying to tie it into that kind of thing, but they didn't make it explicit at all because it's a kids movie. So they're just like, you know what? They'll watch it and they'll go, "Ooh, cool magnet." But also magnets don't look like that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what that was. They show it with like this big like blue whirlwind.
Yeah, like you could see the magnetic field.
It's definitely supposed to be magic. I don't understand why it wasn't just magic.
Um and then there were bats that would take the metal from the owls and then put it in the pile. And I started wondering about the bats because the owls, they're like personified in this movie, right? They're they're
Right,
sentient.
yeah.
But there's also bats.
The bats don't
And
talk.
the bats don't talk, but are they sentient as well? Um, because they seem very well trained. You know, they're just going, they're doing their thing, they're fulfilling their purpose in this whole plan. Um, Also, there was a bluebird at one point that was chased by all the Hitler Youth, the Hitler
Uh-huh,
Youth
yeah.
owls.
Yeah, it was.
Um, can that bird talk, or is it just owls?
Well, and
Because if
that
so,
begs the question: what makes the animals talk or not talk, and is it if they're prey? But then the snake is almost eaten by one of those owls later, and the snake talks.
the
So
snake talks, the echidna talks,
yeah, the echidna
and
talks.
but then the crows don't
The
talk.
crows don't talk. That is true.
The Tasmanian devil doesn't talk.
Well, it was
It,
hunting.
yeah, I guess it wouldn't talk in that circumstance. It's not very, but like I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason
The
to it. It
weirdest one
doesn't
is the
seem.
bats,
The
followed
bats are
closely
strange.
by the crows.
I think it's weird that the echidna does talk.
Why?
It's not even a bird. It's not even a flying
The snake
creature.
talks.
Yeah, the snake talks. The
The
snake is a
snake's
weird
like
one.
the fourth animal we're introduced to.
I That's something that I was wondering about. Why is the snake their mate?
Yeah, I wondered about it, and then they brought it up, and I was like, well, that makes even less sense.
Wait, did they explain it in the movie? Did I miss that?
No, they just like I was like, wouldn't they want to eat the snake, or wouldn't the snake eat the babies or the eggs? And
Uh,
then later, the snake comes back into the story when the other owls are like, I found this snake, it's dinner now. And they're like, no, that's not dinner, that's my nursemaid.
oh yeah, the whole thing of like who you can eat and whatnot. It's very confusing because you don't want to eat something that's sentient, right? Or else you're a monster.
I mean, I don't understand how it works. It's very confusing.
So there are bugs and stuff that they eat. Like they catch a moth, they're gonna eat the moth. They're little worms and grubs and stuff, right?
They eat rats, but we never see that happen.
Yeah, they're always coughing up the bodies of them, but you never see them being eaten.
Nope.
I wanted to see um the nursemaid snake eat because they I think they're shying away from it because she's a snake, she's a predator. She's gonna be eating some cute little animals, but they're playing her off as like a kind grandmother. And I think it's such a weird choice to make her a snake.
The one thing that they show the birds eating, the only thing that they show is worms.
No, there's the moth. Oh
They
wait, no,
don't
the moth
they
gets
don't eat
away.
the moth. The moth gets away.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. They're
Okay.
not coughing up pellets of worms.
Okay, so but like okay, so they're collecting the pellets and it's the magnetism, whatever.
And then Gimbal pulls them aside.
Grimble.
Grimble. Yeah. Uh, it's Hugo Weaving. He's like, listen, they took my family. They stole my family, and I've been kidnapping for them since then. But now I've decided that I want to teach you to fly to go get the guardians that you used to dress up as in your owl house and play out their battles because you like war.
You know, the interesting thing about that is he doesn't just say I picked you to do this, and he doesn't just do it himself. He specifically is like, I was waiting to see if anybody would be smart enough to not get moon blinked so that I could
Also,
do this.
yeah, okay.
So why didn't you just why? Why were you waiting for someone to be smart enough? And also,
If
why did
falling,
it specifically? Why was it the Taito?
okay, hang on. We need to, okay.
This movie
If
is
fa-
about racism, and yet it is still racist.
if falling asleep in the moonlight makes you become moon blinked and you're like just all you're brainwashed, you don't know who you are anymore. How come more owls don't know about that? That seems like something that day one owl school they teach you about that. Like, don't you dare fall asleep in the moonlight. It'll screw you up for life.
I don't understand because like
Oh,
they
and then
fall asleep
Eglantine
during the day later.
and Eglantine uh gets wait, no, they can fall asleep in the day. That's allowed. But Eglantine gets moon blinked later and then she gets better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For no reason.
Yeah, because Claude moon blinks her.
Okay,
Claude is a
so
monster.
okay, so let's just very quickly summarize the rest of the plot because I don't
Okay.
feel like it's all that important, and we'll get bogged down into it, and we'll talk about specific things later. So basically, they escape and they go find the guardians, and kind of gather a team of people along the way. They find the guardians who are indeed real and they believe them, and then they get betrayed by this one guy that's named Alamir, and then they get ready for battle and they go into battle and it's a trap, and then Soren, who was told to stay home, decides to go after them when he realizes it's a trap, and then Soren saves the day and kills the bad guy. So that's the very quick summary of the plot, because I feel like that's just now you know. So we can talk about any specific scenes we want to, but
Okay, hang on. There's something that wasn't brought up in that is okay. So Clud
Clud.
became a Nazi
Oh
owl,
yeah,
right?
Clud becomes a Nazi owl. Sorry,
Clud becomes a Nazi owl, and then uh,
an Altsy.
the Helen Mirren, chief Nazi owl lady, um, she wants Clud to prove his loyalty. And I think Clud's like into her a little bit too. That's sort of implied. I think
Maybe I don't know. I don't
he's
know.
got a he's got a weird thing going on where he
Clud's
really
really
wants to
into
impress her.
being a jerk, and that's all I can say.
And he's like, "Yeah, I'll get you my baby sister. I'm gonna go get her." He somehow gets her off screen, doesn't even show it. Then he brings her there, and Eglinton's like, Claude, what's going on? I want to go home. I don't like these Nazis. And then he's like, no, Eglantine, that's lame. This is our family now, and you're going to be a Nazi with me.
And
Get
then he
moon
moon
blinked.
blinks her.
Then, when Alomir, the traitor, goes to pretend that he's finding out about the whole Pure Ones, right? He comes back. The two other guys, they got taken out, right, by the Owl Nazis. But
Right.
then he brings Eglantine. So then Eglantine gets better and tells Soren that Alomir betrayed them. So the bad guys are stupid. They they get a baby owl and they moonblink her, and then they're like, we don't actually need this owl. It was useless. Why did Clud give us this baby? And then they give it to their guy who's with the Guardians. He brings the baby over there. They're like, no, we can cure it from moon blinking. Moon blinking doesn't matter. And then Eglantine's like, it's a trap. And the bad guys didn't have to give her to them. Like,
Yeah, I don't get it. So can we talk about where this movie went from me going, I could see myself liking this as a kid, to, oh fuck this.
sure.
Because it's before I think it's before Eglantine. Pretty certain.
Mm.
It's when Owl City starts playing halfway through the movie, and there's a big happy family montage.
Yes.
It's
This
such a
is
big tonal shift from the rest of the movie, and the only thing I could think during the entire time is, I'm sorry, fucking Owl City's a little bit on the nose, isn't it?
it's so jarring. It's the most 2010 thing ever.
And there's
Okay,
no
hang
way
on.
that you don't know that it's Owl City, okay?
Okay, hang on. An Owl City song that is a pun in a movie directed by Zack Snyder that says from the studio that brought you Happy Feet on the poster in real 3D is the most 2010 movie going experience you could possibly ask for. It's just it's just the cream of the crop as far
It's
as
so dumb. And the only thing for the rest of the movie, like the main thing on my mind was, they really went, we need Owl City on this Owl movie.
I guess I thought this is too heavy for the children. The children are getting bored. They need a musical montage. Um,
I'm just curious now.
also,
I'm curious now when Wreck-It Ralph came out. Okay, Wreck-It Ralph is from 2012, which is the other children's movie that has an Owl City theme song.
but this one, the name of the song is "Take to the Sky," so it's just they're just really going for the owl thing. They committed, you
And
know?
it's such a bad song for this movie. It does not fit at all tonally.
Yeah, he didn't even try to like. Oh, so what sort of like ambiance do you want with like the whole tone of the
No,
movie?
no, no, he didn't try at all.
Should I try and work in some of the score that you've been using this whole time? Kind of like how what's his name did for Tenet, um,
I don't
Travis
know.
Scott.
It's just like, I don't. It feels like the only thought that went into adding an Owl City song was Owl City's popular. It's an owl pun. Boom. That's it. That was all. That was literally it. And I don't understand how that happened. It's so jarring. It's so jarring.
I think Owl City was just like, I'll collaborate with anyone who asks me. It was like, really, just shoot me an email. I'm on it. I'll do it. He was like the marshmallow of his time.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. The thing is, I know
He
the
was
song. I knew the song. I
like,
didn't know that this was what it was from, but like I've heard the song before, and I was like, what the
uh,
fuck?
Um,
Yeah. So anyway, that happens, and they have this like happy family montage when they reach the tree
yeah,
of Gahul, I guess is what it is. Is that
it's
Gahul?
re- yes, the Tree of Gahul.
Yeah.
Um, so the weird thing there is that everything seems very fast paced for like the first half of this movie, right? Like it all happens with what seems like a day.
I think it
Because
is a day.
so they get taken that night in the morning. They're at the Al Nazi place, St. Aegilius. Um, then the guy oh no, okay, so it's like 2 days so far because then there's the moon blinking that night.
Okay, yeah.
So then the next day, uh, Grimble is teaching them to fly. Then the Nazi lady shows up. It's like no flying here. Then they escape. They learn to fly very quickly, it seems. Um,
Yeah.
and then they sleep once. Okay, so this is like 3 days so far.
Oh yeah, because they sleep when they meet Digger and the other guy.
Yeah. And then they fly across the ocean. And then they were like very like desperate to get there quickly. They're like, someone needs to find out. They're trying to take over the Owl Kingdoms. And then they're there and they plead their case to like that court thing. There's a whole court. Um, but then they're just kind of chilling for a while.
You could call it a council.
Oh, a White Council? Also, okay, hang on.
Sure.
That's like in Lord of the Rings, the White
Yes, I
Council.
was referring to Lord of the Rings because that's where Aulamir tells Lies of Keel that
Okay, hang
he's
on.
stupid or whatever. I don't remember.
Yeah, they didn't even get Hugo Weaving to be in that scene.
No.
Like they should have. But this is also kind of weird. So there's the whole race thing going on, right? The Tytos, they think they're better than everyone else. But the Guardians are good. The Guardians aren't like that. But then when they get to the Guardian place, the king and queen also Tytos.
Not just that, they're pure white. They're not Tytos.
Or are they
They're
snowy
snowy
owls?
barn owls.
Well, like Tytos are barn owls, though. Like it's just a different name for them, right?
I guess. I don't know. I don't know where Tyto comes from.
I think it's just like a fancy name for a barn owl. Hang on, I'll Google it real quick. Um, Tyto is a genus of birds consisting of true barn owls, grass owls, and masked owls that collectively make up all the species within the subfamily Tytonina. Tytoninae.
Okay, so yes, they are still Tytos. The king and
Yeah,
queen are
okay.
Tytos.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird that like they're like, ah, no, the Guardians are like cool, but like all of the characters of any importance in this, the hero, the
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is okay. I have this entire like paragraph of things that really bother me. So the thing is, it's like it's about race, right?
Mhm.
And so Soren, who's a Taito, stands up for whatever her name is. What was her name?
Elfie.
Gilfie.
Yeah, not a good name.
And then Gilfie is like really smart, right? Gilfie's the
Yes.
reason they don't get moon blinked. Gilfie gets them to where they're going. Gilfie is really, really smart. So she's a different type of owl, a very small owl, and she's a girl,
Hmm.
right? And so it kind of seems like they're setting it up for Gilfie to be the real hero, because that would make sense, subvert the trope, make it a more interesting talk about like race and sexism.
Hmm.
And then Gilfie doesn't do anything at all, ever.
Yeah.
Gilfie does absolutely nothing, right? So
Yeah.
then, like, so Soren gets to the tree of Gahul and learns that his hero, Lies of Keel, is this screech owl, which is
Uh-huh.
not a Tyto. And he's like, oh, I guess not all of not all the heroes are Taitos. I'm learning racism. That's cool. Let's
Uh-huh.
go fight the pure ones. But then he just goes and fights the pure ones and wins, and everyone else is stupid and rushes in and gets trapped, and he has to save them.
Yep.
So then, what's the lesson?
There
Who?
is none.
There is none. There's absolutely none.
I think
I don't
it really comes
understand.
down to to Zack Snyder going, all right, but like aesthetically, Titles look the coolest.
But they don't even. So like I feel like they could have had Soren still have like the story where he goes and he fights his brother
Hmm.
and tries to win his brother back, right?
Hmm.
But then have given Gylfi the part of actually saving like all the other owls, right? Instead,
from
they've
from
got
the
these
giant magnet.
right, they've got these three other owls, right? And
Uh-huh.
all three of them are there. All three of them do nothing. Like
Yeah,
almost literally nothing. They
Digger, Digger and the Bard Owl, they're completely inconsequential to anything at
they
all.
fight off some bats, which is
Yeah,
all they do. And when they do that, Gylfi's not even there. Gylfi is never shown fighting anybody, but she's
there are
there.
lots. There
She's
are
just
lots
not
of
doing anything.
there are lots of characters that didn't need to be in this movie. Eglantine,
The
the nurse,
snake,
yeah, Digger, the Bard Owl,
the bard owl, who
Helen,
is objectively bad.
yeah, um, Helen
Soren.
Mirren was the real bad guy, but then they're building up Metalbeak, and Metalbeak doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, and Helen Mirren's character doesn't even fight. She just watches him die and is like, "Oh, let's leave."
Well, because they're setting it up for the
Well,
sequel.
yes, they were very much setting up for a sequel, both with his brother never being found and the last of the pure ones whimpering off to hide.
And I don't know what happens in the books. Maybe
I aren't
maybe
there
the
like
Nazis.
16 books?
There are a lot of
There are a
books.
lot of books. I'm sure a lot of things happen in the books.
That was the thing back then, like the YA series where um,
It just
we're
never
just gonna
ends.
keep writing
Yeah.
them until his author drops dead.
Okay, but what I'm saying is like Gylfi could have been like the subversion trope, right? It's still a
Uh-huh.
trope, but it could have been like the subversion where it's like Soren learns that he didn't have to be the hero. He wasn't the hero, and the best thing he could do is try to reach out to his brother and teach him what he had learned. And then Gylfi could have saved the day and like been
And
another
that
Lies of Keel, which goes back to the story that they told before. But instead, he wins, and not only does he save the day and everything, they
mhm.
rewrite the story of the battle that like Soren's used to hearing to make Soren the hero. So now it's no longer like I
and it it would have been a much better arc in Soren's part because
yeah.
at the beginning of the movie he was playing with Eglantine and he was like, "No, I'm gonna be Lies of Keel. You're gonna be Metalbeak again. I have to be the hero. I have to."
It would have been
That's
character growth. And
yeah.
instead, it's like I don't even know. It's not anything. It's literally just nothing.
Also, I talked about it a little bit. Just the fact that the magnet is crazy. What a weird scheme to take over the Owl Kingdoms. You're like, we're gonna trick them all here, and then we're gonna trap them with a magnet. We're gonna have a magnet, and they're gonna be there, and they'll be stuck there because of their gizzards. But we have bats. The bats can get there. The bats can go in because they don't have gizzards. Who thought of that? Like, what owl was like
Metalbeard, obviously.
was like, okay, we
A
you know
Metalbeard,
those little
Metalbeak.
yeah, I heard it, but I was on my rant. So the, they were like, when we puke up those rat guts and there's little metal pieces in those, I think we need to get them all together, make a big magnet.
Okay, but
This
like,
magnet,
why does adding metal to the magnet make it more magnetic?
I don't know.
That's not
They
how
just
magnets
say
work.
you're right. They just say metal flake. It's not even a magnetic. It's not even a magnet.
No, it's not a magnet. It's just a metal flake. It does absolutely nothing. I don't understand.
Uh, anyway, it's an insane scheme. It seems like something Dr. Doofenshmirtz would do in Phineas and Ferb.
Yeah.
Oh, he made the giant magnet to and he covered the entire eastern seaboard in tinfoil because he was going to
Yeah.
try and move it.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Except
Uh,
owls and
okay,
taking itself seriously.
this movie takes itself so seriously. There's like there's very little humor about the fact that they're pulling pieces of metal out of basically turds.
Yeah. Oh, I have a question. I have a question.
Huh?
So they just go live at the Tree of Ga'Hoole, right? At the
Yeah, they
end.
just ditch
So
their
why?
parents.
Why? Why do they do that? They find out that this legend that they've been passing down is real, and now there's
Mm-hmm.
probably millions of owls that don't know that it's real, that probably
Mm-hmm.
need to be protected from whatever happens in the future. And the protectors are off on this fucking tree in the middle of the ocean, and nobody knows they exist.
Yeah,
Why? Why does it end that way? That's just dumb. Also, why does Soren stay there and become a hero? He's still a child. He literally just learned to fly. Go
yeah, he didn't
home.
even finish the basic training thing that they were doing in that montage.
No. Oh, and the flying in the rain montage is literally the slow motion Flash scene from Justice League.
Oh,
It
I
really,
mean,
it just is.
Zack Snyder likes using his own things over and over again, it seems.
This movie is a lot of movies, but with
Uh-huh.
owls, I wrote a list of every movie that this is. This is
Uh-huh.
Star Wars Episode 3.
Uh-huh.
This is Justice League. This is also
Okay.
Wonder Woman.
Okay.
This is also The Dark Crystal. And this is
Uh,
also Star Wars Episode 9.
okay.
In that the bad guy is this Nazi-esque, warlord-esque person that has a metal motif that likes to fight in the rain with lots of
There's
slow motion.
they love the rain, they love that fire, they love the
Yeah, the fire.
magnets. They're just like, we're gonna do every effect we possibly can all
Like
at once.
you haven't seen the first Wonder Woman, have you?
I have. I
Okay, so
have.
the fight with Ares at the end
Hmm.
is just the fight that he has with Metal Beak.
Really, Wonder Woman was ripping off Guardians of
Okay,
Ga'Hoole,
so you've seen
and no one
Justice.
knew
You've
it.
not seen Justice League, but in
I've not
Justice
seen
League, the
that.
fight with Steppenwolf
Uh-huh.
is literally just the fight with Metal Beak.
This movie, it's a classic and it influenced cinema for years to come. That's the conclusion we're reaching here. Okay, we should say this movie does look good.
Oh yeah, it's great looking. It's wonderful. Like the animation on this is fantastic. They did a great job
And
making these owls look like they're actually like owls. They have
it
weight.
aged it aged really well 11 years on. Like
Oh yeah,
it could
for
come
sure.
out now and I'd say, yeah, that's a good looking movie.
Yeah, for sure. It's really nice. They like the animations. Something that plagued a lot of like CG around that time was that nothing had weight. Everything looked like it was like complete, like 0 pounds, like it just floated. These
Hmm.
owls look like they're flying. And when they're
Yeah.
struggling to fly, they look like they're struggling. Like they look like they are the weight of an owl, which is very impressive.
Yeah. And I mean, like the whole color palette looks very nice altogether. It's yeah.
It's a good looking movie. Yeah. Yeah. Which is really unfortunate.
It would have been nice to like this movie. Like if
Right.
this
Yeah.
were a hidden gem that no one talks about it, but this movie was actually great, you know. Um, okay, so now I think we've talked about the movie at length and a little bit about Zack Snyder, but I think we need to delve deeper into Zack Snyder's psyche, right? What made Zack Snyder want to make this movie?
I think I know. Okay.
So, okay, because he's the comic book guy. He's made all the comic book movies. He's done Watchmen. He's done 300. He's done. He did. Wait, was Man of Steel before or after this? Man of Steel was
After.
later.
It's 2013.
He did Sucker Punch already at this point. Is Sucker Punch a comic book adaptation, or is
Don't
it
know.
an original?
I don't know. I can look it up. Let me look it up.
Okay.
Sucker Punch is the year after this, by the way.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
What a switch. He's like, I'm gonna make the kids owl movie, and he says, actually, what if I made a movie about?
Okay, Sucker Punch is Zack Snyder's first film based on an original concept.
Okay, so Zack Snyder had made 300 and Watchmen, and then he says, you know what? I'm gonna do an animation movie for kids about owls, and then he goes, not anymore. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a movie about hot girls fighting each other in a mental hospital. That's what I'm gonna do now. He's such a child.
So I think calling him the comic book director is kind of missing something, and I would say that the thing that Zack Snyder does is that he makes movies about characters that he can fantasize himself as, right? So like in Watchmen, he is, what is the Owl Man's name?
Owlman.
Is it Owlman?
I believe so, yeah.
I forget. Watchman's is such a terrible film. I forget all their names.
Yeah, Owlman.
Yeah,
Wait,
Owlman.
oh no, wait, hang on. That's from
Night Owl.
Owlman's from the Two Earths Justice League thing. He's like the counter to Batman.
Right. Okay. So
that's what I was saying.
It's Night Owl.
Yeah, yeah.
So like in Watchmen, I think, Zack Snyder sees himself as Night Owl, right? This generic white dude doing his best to fight crime or whatever, and also being real sexy and hot along the way. Mm-hmm. And in this, I have a feeling he sees himself as Soren. And it's very funny to me to picture Zack Snyder being like, oh yeah, I'll take this. This is great. I love this character. Like, I relate so much to him.
Wait. In 300, does he see himself as a Spartan king?
I have not seen 300. It's one of those movies I refuse to watch.
I haven't either. I don't intend to ever watch that movie.
But the one thing I've heard about that movie is that Zack Snyder made it very straight when it is so very by nature homoerotic. So quite possibly.
What a nerd. What a nerd.
Like, I just see Zack Snyder as a nice guy, right? He's the kind of guy who's like wearing his fedora, like, "M'lady, well, actually, Batman gets all the girls not because he's rich, but because he's real smooth." I don't know. It just like I don't know. That's how I see him. Like this fucking
How did he
nerdy
become
incel.
successful? I really don't know how he became like such a figure in Hollywood.
Because he likes slow-mo and so does everyone else.
None of his movies that I've seen are good.
Watchmen is fucking hilarious. For all the wrong reasons.
Some people like Man of Steel. I didn't.
I never watched Man of Steel because I hate Superman, sue me, and I hate Zack Snyder. So,
I mean, Zack Snyder's whole take on Superman is, what if Superman was God? And then you're like, yeah, but like that's the whole thing anyway. Like,
so original of you.
And it's like, but he's God, but he's like gotta like be with the people, but he's God. And then it's like, okay, Zack Snyder, shut up.
What if Superman was God, but like he really, really didn't want to be?
Oh, he does have the thing where he kills Zod. That's like the whole thing. They're like, Superman killed someone, but
Superman
like,
kills people all the time.
I don't. Yeah, I don't care about that at all.
Like literally the only hero that I will be like, you made them kill someone, is Batman. Okay, and that's because Batman, like, it's literally one of the things that is like part of his shtick. No other superhero is it that tied to their character.
It would be tonally really weird if Spider-Man killed someone.
Tonally weird, yes, but like I don't feel like it's, if it was just brushed by, I don't feel like it would be all that weird, right? Because it's not like something that people, it's not something he like makes a point of. He's just a
We're
teenager.
we're sidetracked. We're just talking about superheroes at this point.
I would rather talk
Okay.
about superheroes than these owls, to be completely honest.
Listen, I was really excited for this episode, but the more we've gone into it, the less I like it.
This movie's so bad. It's so, I don't understand. I don't understand the writing. I don't understand the direction. I don't understand the choices made anywhere except for animation's great. Animation, it's pretty. It's a pretty movie. But like it could have been a pretty good movie. It just isn't. It's just a fucking bad movie. Like who? Who did this?
I, all I heard was an owl pun there.
It was an owl pun. I did that on purpose that time. It was very bad.
Um,
I want to know who's
so
responsible. Was it Zack
okay,
Snyder?
if they had gotten rid of the Owl City song,
Yeah.
how would you feel about it?
I think without the Owl City song, I still hate it. It's just
Just
the Owl
because
City song was
just
the
because
point.
there's no arc.
Just because of so many things. I think that it's less that there's no arc and more that it feels like it's trying to be like, oh, racism is bad and this guy learns it, but instead there is no message. He's like, oh, the Taitos, we're fighting these Taitos that think they're better than everyone else, but the only way to defeat them is with me because I'm a Taito and I'm smarter than everyone else. And it feels stupid. It feels really dumb. It feels more racist than if it had just not been about race at all.
This movie's a lot like Green Book.
I never saw Green Book.
It's like, oh no, it's about Viggo Mortensen learning. Oh, another Lord of the Rings actor learning not to be racist by being a black person's bodyguard. So it's got like a sort of hero complex thing going on there. Um,
Yeah.
and then like a race reconciliation type movie as well. You know, one of those. Um,
No.
so yeah, it was a stretch, but I thought it was funny.
No, that makes sense. I can see the comparison. I'm just like, I don't. It.
We can
Why?
stop talking about this. We've talked. I don't know. We can rate it.
We can
You want
rate
to
it.
rate it?
We're at the point where we should stop and rate it. I can't help but just keep.
I'm sorry I made you watch this, John. I just remembered it from my youth. I had it on the DVD. I remember bringing it to a sleepover once for my friend Dominic's birthday.
Oh, Dominic.
Yeah, my friend Dominic. I cried at this birthday party, which was very embarrassing.
Yeah.
So I went there. Was gonna hang out with my friend Dominic, but his friend Cade was there. I hated Cade. Cade was the worst. Um, and then it was a Nerf war party. We all brought our Nerf guns, but then Cade was just manipulating Dominic to just rig the Nerf wars against us. So then I was one of the less popular kids. I was on the team where we got all the crappy Nerf guns that didn't even work right. And Cade and Dominic were on the other team. And they'd be like, we get the cool base too.
Did
And
Cade
then
go
like,
by CJ?
This was in Louisiana. You don't know Cade.
Okay, I thought you were talking about.
You don't know.
I thought you
You
were
don't
talking
know
about a different
Dominic.
Dominic.
Yeah, you don't know Dominic either.
Okay.
Um. So then, basically, I was like, "Hey guys, what if we switch up teams, switch up guns, switch up forts and stuff? Because we've been doing it this way for a while, and really one team has been winning." And they were like, "No." So then I got really upset and I started crying and I threw my Nerf gun on the ground and I went inside. Um, and then later at the sleepover, I think everyone watched this movie that I brought because they felt bad for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, I probably would have liked this movie as a kid.
I did. I thought it was good at the time.
I was hoping that watching it now, it would be a movie that I could add to the list of movies that I would have liked as a kid and still feel good about that. I don't think so.
Before watching this movie, even remembering that there was the Owl City song in it, um, I thought it might be a situation where it's kind of like Treasure Planet, where I revisit that movie and I go, no, this movie's still the best. This movie's so good, you know? Um, but it wasn't. It wasn't at all.
I was ready to become a Snyder bro, but here we are.
Still, one of his best movies.
Undoubtedly, yes, absolutely. One of the better Snyder movies. Possibly the best.
It's either this or Man of Steel, and I don't like Man of Steel.
I say possibly the best because I haven't seen the ones that people like, right? I haven't seen Man of Steel, I haven't seen 300, and I haven't seen Sucker Punch. So I
Do
really
people
can't
like
say.
Sucker Punch?
I don't know. I don't. Do people like Zack Snyder at all?
Apparently, everyone wanted his cut of Justice League for some reason, even though everyone hated
I was
Batman
way more
versus
down for
Superman.
the Ayer cut than I was the Snyder cut, okay? And I fucking hate David Ayer. I just wanted to see the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad because it was going to be a fucking nightmare, even more so than the one that we got. But we didn't get it, and now I'm mad, and David Ayer's mad too, and he's petitioning for it now. So
David Ayer, I've never seen an interview with him. I've
me
only seen
neither.
I've only ever seen Suicide Squad, but he just
Did you
seems
not
like the
watch
sort of
Bright?
no, I
Oh,
couldn't do that to myself.
I've
Uh,
seen Bright 4 times.
See, like
It's
I was
so
gonna
bad.
watch, I was gonna watch it, but then I knew that Max Landis wrote it, and I was like, I don't want to watch a movie written by Max Landis.
That's fair. That's really fair. It's a terrible movie. It's not so bad. It's good. It's just bad. And I've watched it maybe not 4 times, at least 3 times though.
This movie, it seems like would be similar to Bright
This
in
movie?
that it's a muddled race allegory. Uh,
Oh yeah, fair. Although I think so. Bright is actually a little bit more like Good Time,
oh, really?
except for that Good Time is a good movie and Bright is fucking terrible.
All right.
Anyway, what do you rate this?
I rate this movie a big old fat 0.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
0. I was
No
gonna
one
give
saw it
it.
coming.
I was gonna give it a 1, because I feel like about it. Like I feel like
No, don't.
well, but no, I feel like you could watch this for the animation because it is really pretty.
Okay, if you're like an animation buff,
Right.
watch it, right?
If you're an
But like, I
animation
don't.
nerd, feel free to like watch this without feeling like judgment from me because it really is very pretty. It's very technically amazing, especially for 2010 and the fact that it still holds up. Like it's good. There's a lot of stuff that I'm curious. I didn't do any research and I really should have, but like I'm curious what they use to simulate the water for flying over the ocean because that's really really good. It may just be hand animated, but like it's nice. It's a really good looking movie. It's really technically well done. I think one, if you're interested in seeing some really good owl animation and don't care about the fact that this movie fucking sucks, go ahead.
Um, I actually think the animation in this movie holds up better than like How to Train Your Dragon, which is a better movie. But like looking back on that
I've never
animation, it's
seen
not as
How to
good.
Train Your Dragon, but I did recently somebody mentioned like the animation not holding up, and I went back and looked at like the character design, and I would agree the character design in that movie is god awful.
But it's the same year, so I think it's a good comparison to make.
Although the thing about How to Train Your Dragon is the water in How to Train Your Dragon is fantastic.
And those movies, they get better as they go as far as animation, obviously. Like,
Right, yeah. And that's also interestingly enough, I think a lot of movies with really good animation have terrible story. Because the other movie that comes to mind is like a really, really well animated movie. It's newer. It's not like one that holds up from a long time ago, but it's newer. Is The Good Dinosaur, and I fucking hate The Good Dinosaur. But the animation in that movie is peak, like beautiful.
um, more and more as I've watched more animated movies, just like outside of Pixar, I'd say I think 2D is better. I think 2D is better. I like it so much.
I think
It's hard to it's hard to come like I don't know. I don't think I should make a statement like that one is better than the other, but I like 2D more.
so. Here's what I'm going to say about that because like 3D is like my preference for art in general. Like that's what I like
Mhm.
doing. It's what I do for work, and it's I'd like to branch into more like CG type art at some point. And I really appreciate things like people get mad about like Pokemon Detective Pikachu, and they're like it looks terrible. I think it looks great. I like it a lot. I think the designs are very cool. I think that it's a different art style, and if it's not what you are looking for, then you're going to be super disappointed. And
Mhm.
it's still new. Like people forget, it's still very new. Like
Yeah.
even in like let's see, I'm trying to think movies that we still like look back to as like the peak of like effects and like Jurassic Park is not that old. It's from the 90s. And
Is
it's
Jurassic Park 90s?
yeah, the
I
first
thought it was
one.
like late 80s. Okay.
Jurassic Park. The first Jurassic Park movie is from 93.
Oh, really? Wow.
So
Okay.
early 90s, right? And that doesn't have any CGI in it. Well, not it does have some CGI in it, but the main portions of it are like physical effects. So just animation is still very new in that front. And like to uh, even like VeggieTales is one of the very first fully animated shows in CG, and that's one of the reasons why it was very popular even among non-Christian circles. So like it's very new to the point where people are still learning how to use it to do like artistic styles that have been perfected in 2D for like a
Uh-huh.
long time. So like if you go back to like early 2D animation, like Disney stuff, it's not great. It has a special place in people's heart because it's nostalgia, but it's not great.
Well, okay. Let me explain more what I meant. And that I think the reason to do animation in general is to convey a kind of story that can't necessarily be told very well through live action, right? I think that that's a lot of it is like expressing yourself in a different way. And I think animation's at its best when it's using things that wouldn't be conveyed as well,
I
told
agree.
through
Yeah.
things that we can like physically understand. You know, it's a lot more abstract in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I think something that 3D animation often falls into is just striving for realism as opposed to like artistic liberty.
I see
Um,
what you're talking about like John Favreau and like The Lion King and stuff, which I agree is very bad.
um,
It very much is defeats the purpose of animation.
so a movie that I think did very well recently with animation was Soul. I think it did a great job of incorporating aspects of animation that like okay, for instance, there are characters within that are 2D in a 3D world because they're from like a different like plane of existence. So it's conveying that idea through just animating them in a different way.
Right.
And it shows him falling like out of life into a different form of animation and then back into three-dimensional. I think it did a lot of really cool, like interesting stuff with how it was how it was done, you know, like how it was illustrated. Um, and I think that for 3D animation to work, it needs to like be more dynamic than a lot of big studios, the ones that can afford to make 3D movies, are willing to give them the license to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I feel like the two movies that come to mind as like the most recent movies for that style of animation are the Tom and Jerry movie that we were just talking about, and the new Space Jam movie,
Mm-hmm.
which are both CG. And I haven't seen Tom and Jerry, and I don't plan on watching it. But part of me wants to watch it just to see how they did with animation, because I feel like Looney Tunes specifically, and that style of cartoon really captures like what makes animation more like special in the way like where it can bend reality. And if they use it to their advantage, you can still do that in CG and make it quite interesting. Like it would be its own art style. And not everyone's going to prefer that art style. But I feel like it is a growing style that's like still like being shaped by artists coming up with new ways to do things because it's still very new. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like in the case of this movie, the owls in this movie are a difficult balance between realistic owls and like cartoons. And I feel like it is really a good example of being a cartoon without being uncanny valley realistic. Like it balances the realistic owl with the like cartoony idea of an owl. I don't know. I feel like it does that well.
Well, yeah, okay. Um, I don't even necessarily mean like making something that doesn't look like it would in real life. You know what I mean? I mean making something that looks detailed in a certain way. I think I don't know what I'm
I know
really
what you
trying.
I feel like I know what you mean, and you're
Mm,
misinterpreting what I'm saying to say like
okay.
realism. I understand what you're saying, like expressing emotion in ways that aren't realism
Uh-huh.
is something that cartoons do really well. They, in 2D, you can, in that art style, you can express things in ways that is not realistic, but is very
Uh-huh.
much very emotive and personal. And I feel like you can do that with 3D. It just doesn't get done very often.
Yeah, yeah. We're on the same page, I think.
Yeah.
But I like animation. I did enjoy the animation in this movie, but I still give it a 0 just because I don't know. Uh, I hated so much of it, and it's just it's just so poorly written. It's just boring. It's very boring.
Yeah. Yeah. It is kind of a slog. I actually watched it in two parts, so I didn't mention that before, but I did. Yeah. I stopped it not quite halfway through and then went
I
on a
fell
walk.
I fell asleep during the climax of the movie, and then I had to go back and finish it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm still leaving mine at a 1. I feel like if you're interested in Zack Snyder for some reason, watch this. And if you're interested in seeing some interesting owl animations,
If you're a fan of the book series,
if you like
actually,
Owl City thrown at you 30 minutes
if,
into a movie,
if you're a Hugo Weaving stan,
he's in this movie like 15
he,
minutes maybe.
he plays two characters.
Yeah,
He
but the
plays
other character's not even there for more than like a minute.
no, his dad. He goes in. He's like, "I'm gonna teach you to branch.
Yeah,
You
that,
don't need
that
that
scene's like
helmet."
5 minutes long.
I guess so. Yeah. Well, he's not doing any voice acting, but he's flying through all the opening logos. You know, he's the bird, and then the feather flies off him, and it zooms in on it slow motion, as Zack Snyder loves. You know. All right, we can stop. Bye, y'all. This is a terrible place to live. I don't know if anyone will have gotten to the end of this episode. Um, I don't know who cares that much about Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole.
What a niche. Well, enjoy. I'll probably put something about Zack Snyder in the title to make people listen to it.
Zack Snyder's The Legend
Legend
of the
of the
Guardians,
Guardians.
the Owls of Ga'Hoole. What a long